Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Today, we're going to be talking about spinach and cardiovascular health. Everything we do as a part of our movement here at Truth, Freedom, and Health at VA Shiva, we always take a systems approach to understand how to look at things, be it at the global level, whether we're looking at politics or history, or whether we're looking at trying to understand how spinach affects your cardiovascular system. That, too, is a systems problem. And I want to emphasize to everyone, we have a little ticker scrolling along the bottom which says you can go to truthfreedomhealth.com or vashiva.com/join. And that's for those of you who want to support we're doing our movement and also learn and become part of this educational movement to really learn about systems and the science of systems. And that approach helps us to go beyond left or right, beyond pro or anti, to really find what the real situation is, what the real problem is, and the real solution in any situation. But today, we're going to be focusing on spinach and cardiovascular health. And as a part of this, you're all going to learn, what is spinach? You're going to learn, meaning what is it composed of, the nutrients in it, the molecules in it. But you're also going to understand the cardiovascular system. And those of you who want to know more about any of the other videos we've done or what we're up to across a range of things, you can go to vashiva.com, Victor Alpha, that's on the bottom right here, okay? And so I encourage all of you to go there to understand more. But when we look at spinach and cardiovascular health, we're going to take a cytosolve molecular systems analysis, and I'll talk more about cytosolve. But what is spinach? It's known as Beta vulgaris. That's its official Latin term. It's a root vegetable that was domesticated first in the Middle East and native to Europe. It belongs to the Amaranthacea family. Ancient Romans and Greeks used spinach as an aphrodisiac. Its medicinal use dates back to Hippocrates, and its medicinal properties are attributed to both the leaves and the root also. Okay, so let's begin by really looking at what you're going to learn today. We're going to learn today what is spinach. We're going to learn the effects on biological functions. We're going to understand the spinach health benefits. But we're also going to look at, as we did earlier with beets, we're going to look at also the effects on cardiovascular health and the clinical evidence on spinach and dosaging. So that's what we're going to learn today. It's important to understand we want to take a scientific engineering systems approach, because what's happening right now is that in science, people don't look at the whole picture anymore because of a lot of the monetary interests, as I've talked about on the political side. But we don't want to just cherry pick. If you look what I'm sharing here, there's been close to 9,696 research articles done over the past 80 years on spinach. In fact, there's been over 76 clinical trials. And you can see in this graph right here on the left, if you can see it, the volume of research on that, it just continues to grow. So obviously spinach is of interest to researchers, but we're not just going to cherry pick. We're going to look at the body of that research relative to its effects on cardiovascular health. And the way we do this is with a technology that I created for my PhD work at MIT that's now grown into its own company called cytosolve. And cytosolve is really a 23rd century platform for discovery. We can do things faster and cheaper and safer, and we're also not killing animals by doing this, but it helps us really understand how natural products or combinations of products and ingredients affect biomolecular function. So the way cytosolve works, if you look at the body of literature, let's say spinach and cardiovascular health, we're able to look at all of that research, and we're able to mine that research and curate it to the relevant ones that have molecular mechanisms. And then particularly, we're able to target that to things that have to do, same thing, John? Are we okay on Instagram?
Was due to poor connection.
Oh, okay.
We're back.
Okay. Was that on Wi-Fi? Should be.
Yes, it's on Wi-Fi.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking that content and we're understanding of that literature, what are the ones that have molecular mechanisms, and then we're distilling that. In this case, the area that we're interested in is cardiovascular health. And for cardiovascular health, we're going to then extract those pieces of research and then amalgamate them together to get a systems view about spinach's effect on cardiovascular health. This methodology was developed because I really thought that the pharma industry, which wastes a lot of money, they waste about $5 billion. It takes them about 13 years to create a drug, which is essentially a single compound. You can see the various processes they have to go through, from test tube research, which is known as in vitro, killing animals, which is known as in vivo, and phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. It takes them a lot of time and money to do this. I thought they would really love to use CytoSolve because we could help accelerate development, lower costs, but more importantly, save animals' lives. They move very, very slow, but my real interest, which has always been there since I was a child, has really been natural products. Natural products are more than just a single compound. They're combinations of compounds. But anyway, you can see why the pharmaceutical industry wants to get into the jab industry or jabinations, because they're getting less and less new drugs being allowed even by the FDA because of safety issues, even though they spend more and more money on R&D spending. So I want to take a few moments to, John's going to play a video to really help you understand what is CytoSolve and how does this actually work. So go ahead, John. So John's going to play a little video on CytoSolve. Go ahead, John. Who would have ever thought someone like me would invent email and create CytoSolve to revolutionize health for personalized and precision medicine, a system for delivering the right medicine for the right person at the right time? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. As a child, I observed my grandmother, a poor village farmer, practice Siddha, India's oldest system of medicine, to heal local villagers by observing their face, to know their unique constitution, to deliver a unique combination of foods, healing herbs, and massage. The caste system and her abilities to heal inspired me to understand the interconnectedness of all life. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, technologist, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. As a 14-year-old, I began working as a full-time research fellow at Rutgers Medical School to unravel the mysteries of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, and created the world's first email system long before I ever heard of MIT. As I traversed academia over the next 3 decades, I observed self-serving academics, never solving real problems, writing grant after grant, competing for tenure, while diminishing real science and real scientists, pushing a reductionist science to destroy the scientific method. Like the blind men who never saw the whole elephant, but the parts, they delivered a dismembered view of reality. I observed Big Pharma use such reductionism, wasting billions year after year to fund research in test tubes, killing animals, and using the poor as guinea pigs for clinical testing to create products that even the FDA no longer allowed. Not only Big Pharma practiced this reductionism, but also the elites of Big Vitamin, Big Green, and Big New Age, with gurus and yogis, empowered by Hollywood celebrities, selling one supplement after another based on a cherry-picked science. All that changed in 2003 when the Human Genome Project ended, revealing that humans have the same number of genes, about 20,000, as that of a worm, giving rise to a systems biology. We realized that one-size-fits-all medicine was a failure. We realized their medicines were killing us, making today's generation's lifespan shorter than any previous generation. Obesity, heart disease, deaths from adverse reaction to drugs, confusion on what diet, what supplements, and who to believe is what they have delivered you. They push natural and organic products for your beauty and wellness, while their real solution is their plastic surgeons and Botox. We've been sold out. It's time for real science, a system science that interconnects the parts to discover truth, to know what really works, to get the health we need and deserve. This is why I created CytoSolve. CytoSolve is about truth, freedom, and health versus power, profit, and control. CytoSolve is a revolutionary technology integrating bioinformatics, computational biology, mathematical modeling, decentralization to reveal the truth. CytoSolve computes trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions to discover what actually works based on the actual science. No reductionism, no cherry picking. CytoSolve's predictive modeling has been proven accurate time and time again, matching laboratory results. CytoSolve discovers synergistic combinations of compounds to maximize health and reduce toxicity. For example, we know curcumin from turmeric and resveratrol from red grapes alleviate inflammation, but how much should we combine? Current methods are hand-waving at best. Here, with CytoSolve, we first model the control condition with no curcumin and no resveratrol to simulate high inflammation with the cytokine level at 0.15 micromolar. Next, we add just 5 micromolars of curcumin. The inflammation drops to 0.05. Next, we use 5 micromolars of resveratrol and the inflammation inflammation drops from 0.15 to 0.06. But when we combine curcumin and resveratrol of 3 micromolars of curcumin and 2 micromolars of resveratrol, inflammation drops from 0.15 to 0.03, far lower, nearly 200% less than just one compound alone. That's the synergy principle of system science. We've all had enough of their fake and reductionist science. They think we'll simply keep buying their marketing, their celebrities, and their products that can never truly heal us. We don't need them. Great things come when we integrate the best of things. It's our time. It's time we delivered solutions for ourselves. It's time for truth, freedom, and health. It's time for Cytosolve. Welcome. All right, we're back. So I hope that gives you a background on Cytosolve. I always play that video because it's important for people to understand the foundational tools that we're using. And someone said, can you invest in Cytosolve? Cytosolve, as a company, we've grown it organically, no pun intended. And we're going to be probably sharing over the next 90 days some interesting opportunities for the broad mass of people out there who want to support the work we're doing and also be part of it. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. So let me go back to the PowerPoint here and get back to Spinach here. But by the way, before I go there, a number of you are posting about MV25. So MV25 is the first product that we've been helping lots and lots of other companies use Cytosolve, really cool companies, to figure out the combinations of ingredients. If you go to the vitamin store right now, just like in some ways Big Vitamin is getting as bad as Big Pharma, they just throw all sorts of crap into these vitamins and you don't really know what works. What we've done is to take that snake oil out of the way by really trying to understand, the biomolecular processes and what are the combinations. Because if you look at food products, they're not just one ingredient like pharma uses a single compound. There are many, many ingredients. So with Cytosolve, so for example, what we can do here, and this is our first product that we've decided to do on our own, and we were very, very careful in doing this because we wanted to make sure we could do it the right way. But what MV25 is, it's a product that you can go find up on the shop site. But MV25, it's got the branding that I'm putting my name behind it, which is really Dr.SHIVA, scientist and systems biologist. But we're calling it MV, as if you know in physics, mass times velocity equals momentum. And we've branded as momentum to move. But it's really a blend of bioflavonoids that are formulated to relieve discomfort and support the body's natural inflammatory processes. And we say it's Cytosolve optimized. So if you look at the back of the label, you'll see what that means. It says this was formulated using the Cytosolve computational systems biology platform, which is Cytosolve, a technology for precision and personalized health. And this was invented by myself during my doctoral research, as I said. But the key thing is this formulation doesn't result just from looking at one cherry-picked piece of research, but we integrated thousands of peer-reviewed literature across 4 decades in 68 research institutions. And then we computed all the different molecular reactions, trillions of molecular reactions, to find the right synergy of these bioflavonoid compounds. Now, the reality is, again, this is a very big departure from how others approach this. Look, science is constantly changing. That's why I say truth is a process. As new science comes out, one of our promises that we make on the back of the label here is that as the research, as the science advances, so will this formulation. So that's one important thing. And the other thing is everything in the ingredients here it's certified clean, which means it's non-GMO, organic, and all those good things, high bioavailability. It's made in the United States. And you can find it up on the shop on vashiva.com. We have various books, and here's MV25. You can get it there. All right. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is that we are, over the last 16 years now, we've built many, many complex biological models of biomolecular function so we can eliminate the need for animal testing. And we're going to be starting to look at all different kinds of compounds using the Cytosolve approach to essentially build products that really work. And those products, you can be confident that it's coming from the latest science. So when we go back to spinach, we have to also recognize spinach is a food, okay? And as a food, it's not just one compound, right? It's composed of macronutrients. Macronutrients are things like fiber, proteins, and fat. You can see spinach has a lot of fiber, 3.4 grams per cup, proteins, 2.2 grams, right? Popeye liked to eat spinach, build his muscles, and fat, 0.2 grams per 100 grams, okay? It also contains micronutrients, which are the vitamins, the carotenoids, the betalins, the minerals, the phenolic compounds, and the inorganic nitrates, okay? And we'll talk about that because that comes into very important for cardiovascular health. Here, a range of B vitamins, almost like a B complex, you can see, B1, B3, B5, B6, B9, B12, and vitamin K, C, and E. Now, there's been some very interesting discussion. I may do a whole video on this in raw spinach versus cooked spinach. Some of you may want to study something called oxalates, oxalic acid, which can be of concern to some people because there's been research that this builds kidney stones, okay? And there's been a lot of work trying to figure out which is better. You know, obviously, if you have a proclivity for, getting kidney stones, you should consult with your doctor. Obviously, food is medicine, but mineral-wise, spinach has potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium. It also has these other phenolic compounds: apigenin, beta-garin, beta-vulgarin, caffeic acid, cholerogenic acid, and ferulic acid. In fact, in this bottle of MV25, one of the key ingredients of the bioflavonoids we discovered is apigenin, which is this ingredient right here. Apigenin has phenomenal, and you can go look at it, apigenin has some very, very powerful effects, but it's one of the important compounds in spinach. And here are the molecular structures of these compounds. If any of you have taken organic chemistry, you'll appreciate these ring structures. If you notice that beta-nin has a number of OH groups, these are oxygen hydroxyl groups. Apigenin has a number of hydroxyl groups in these ring structures. Nitrate is nitrogen with the O's. And then you have beta-garin and beta-vulgarin. Okay, so there's these what we call active components. So right now, what science has discovered is out of all the many different compounds in spinach, right, these 5 compounds have been the most well-studied in terms of their activity for human biomolecular function. So what are the biological effects of spinach? Well, one of the important biological effects of spinach is, or not one, but the following 6 are: it's an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antimicrobial, antihyperlipidemic, which means it breaks up fat, antihypertensive because it lowers hypertension, and it modulates the immune system. You got another problem, John?
Yeah.
Sound?
No, the thing just ended.
We're not sure why Instagram suddenly just ends. So we're not sure why. So John's got to start it up each time, but that's okay. That's for our Instagram audience. Now, the health benefits of spinach are the following. It has the following relative to 4 areas: cardiovascular, diabetes, hepatitis, and infections. We're going to focus on cardiovascular disease relative to hypertension, arteriosclerosis, and heart failure. These are the areas that spinach has quite a bit of benefit. Now, we want to take, John's going to play this other video shortly, we want to take a systems approach here. And if you look at the cardiovascular system, you notice it consists of the lungs, the heart, the vasculature, all these arteries, which include, and blood. So the reason this is important to understand is when you're looking at your body is fundamentally your system. One of the tools that we created is called Your Body, Your System. And that tools allows you to start becoming giving you the education, understand how your body is a system. And this knowledge, and frankly, it's not even taught to medical doctors. So for many, many years, for my engineering systems training, I linked Eastern and Western medicine together, and that led into a whole set of body of work I created called Systems Health. Understand how can you understand your body, the cardiovascular system, every system, even political systems. So I built that, as some of you know, into a whole framework, which anyone here can go to BeEnslaved.com or truthfreedomhealth.com, the little ticker that's playing at the bottom, and you can access, you can get access to the entire educational program. And this truth, freedom, and health movement has now hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people have heard about it. But it's a way that we can move beyond left or right in the political world. In the health world, we can really come to understand what the politics, not the politics, but the reality of any situation is. So let me just share with you the screen here. And I want to share with you the Chrome tab on this. If you go to vashiva.com/join, you will discover the movement for truth, freedom, and health. You can contribute to it. And those of you who contribute to it can get various levels of education. There's a whole set of gifts. I've included 15 different gifts that you can learn all different kinds of. You get books and you get learning, you get to interact with me. We have a whole community. Those of you who want to just get some of the tools can become a supporter, or you can just become a member at no cost. But John's going to play a quick video that you'll understand what our movement is about and all the capabilities. But it's important to understand this because without this understanding, you won't understand why we need to take a systems approach. John?
I'm sorry, Warrior Scholar.
The Warrior Scholar. Okay. Yep. So John's going to play the Warrior Scholar video, which will give you the range of tools that you get. Go ahead, John. Hello, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Welcome to VA Shiva, the platform of education, technology, and activism, so you may raise your consciousness to win the truth, freedom, and health you need to create the future you deserve. The VA Shiva platform provides its truth, freedom, health warrior scholars the following 3 capabilities. Number 1, an ultimate education that is based on the science of systems. Number 2, technologies to empower you to take charge of your health, as well as social media tools, independent of big tech, so you can connect with other incredible truth, freedom, health warrior scholars equally dedicated like you to winning truth, freedom, and health. 3, instruments for activism, so you become a beacon of light in your online and offline community to educate others, growth, and advancement. VA Shiva provides you the foundations of the science of systems, the ultimate education. The science of systems provides you the missing fundamental scientific knowledge to understand every system in and around you. The science of systems will enable you to uncover the real problem and real solution in any situation and on any issue. Concerning the educational component, first you will receive direct access to me to learn the science of systems in my 3-hour live private online group class that I run every week. Second, you will have access to archived lectures so you can continue your education independent of me. Third, you can test your proficiency in learning the fundamental principles and get a formal certification for the foundations of systems. Independent of this classroom education, you will receive also 4 important books. The first book is the best-selling classic Systems and Revolution, from which you can learn all of these concepts and more. The second book is The Science of Everything, that will educate you on how the science of systems is the foundational knowledge of every system in the universe. The third book, Your Body, Your System, focuses on how to understand the interplay of these systems within your own body. And then the fourth book, Your System, Your Life, will help you apply these principles to other aspects of your life, such as running a business, understanding relationships, and more. Beyond the curriculum and books, the second capability is the technologies that you will be afforded. One of them is a powerful Your Body, Your System software, which is an online laboratory where you can use your body as a system to further deepen your understanding of the science of systems. The tool allows you to understand what kind of system you are. Is your system on course or is it off course? And how the inputs of food, supplements, herbs, activities such as sleep, yoga, meditation, exercise can affect your body to bring it back on course. Finally, to support your education, I've also included a seminal scientific paper that I wrote, which will help you understand that the knowledge of systems, it does not only originate in the modern world starting in the 1920s and 30s, but it actually dates back 10 to 20,000 years and intersects directly with the foundations of Eastern systems of medicine. In addition to this, you will also get 2 scientific papers sharing how the science of systems can also be used to apply to understanding how food is medicine. One paper exposes turmeric from the molecular systems level and how it affects your body. The other paper explores ginger and how that affects your body. That's just the educational piece. As you raise your consciousness through this education, you will likely want to connect with other truth, freedom, health warrior scholars in an environment where you can connect and build community. To support that, I've also created 2 powerful social media tools. One of them is a VA Shiva forum. Here you can start discussions, you can pose questions and meet others and have healthy debates. The other is VA Shiva Social, where you can create your own profile, your own presence, like other major social media tools. However, it is independent of big tech. You can use VA Shiva Social to interconnect with your fellow truth, freedom, health warrior scholars and build community. Beyond the education capability and the social media capability, the platform also enables you to take action by disseminating your knowledge on the ground and into your local online and offline communities. CDs, powerful educational cards, and research are included so you can pass these cards to your friends and neighbors that provide them summarized content, which further directs them to online research and education. In addition to this, the activism component also provides you many short 1-minute educational video content, memes, and text, allowing you to quickly craft messages for your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other pages so you can deliver content to educate others and drive them to longer educational posts on VA Shiva. VA Shiva is fundamentally an enabling platform for you to get the truth, freedom, and health you deserve through education, technology, and activism. I hope you become a truth, freedom, and health warrior scholar today. Thank you. All right, so that gives you a vehicle now. So you can't say that you don't know what is system science and how you're going to get access to it and how to study it. You know, it took me 50 years to put that knowledge together, but I want to make it accessible to everyone. Please go take advantage of it. It's really for your development as a person so you can become a leader in your community, but based on grounded sense of systems. So let's go back to the PowerPoint and go now a little bit deeper into taking a systems approach to actually understanding the cardiovascular system. So again, this is not an anatomy course, but just to give you what is the cardiovascular system composed of and how, and this systems understanding will help you understand why spinach is important. First of all, the cardiovascular system is composed of the heart right here in the middle, blood vessels, all these vessels that we'll talk about that permeate your entire body. And then it's also composed of blood. Now, blood isn't just composed of red blood cells, which carries oxygen, but it's also composed of white blood cells, so red and white, as in our logo for Truth, Freedom, and Health. Red and white, very important because the red represents life carrying oxygen and the white represents those important nutrients which help support your immune system, right? So the blood is composed of blood cells and plasma. So these are the important transport elements of the cardiovascular system. So as you notice here are your lungs, here's your circulation system, and here's your heart. If you take your left hand and you put it on the left side of the heart, you have two parts of your heart. The top part, which is known as the atrium. So you have the left atrium, which is receiving. So right now, as you're watching this, you're getting this wonderful, oxygenated blood coming from your lungs. That's coming to your left atrium. And that's being pumped out throughout your entire body, out through your left ventricle, okay? And that goes to your body, so oxygenated blood over here. And now obviously as your body uses that oxygenated blood, it becomes quote unquote blue here, which is deoxygenated blood, which is then carried from these small vessels called the capillaries up through your veins, right? So your arteries, by the way, are the things right here that are carrying oxygenated blood, and your veins are carrying deoxygenated blood. They come to the right side of your heart, the right atrium, and they're pumped down through your right ventricle, which then sends it back to the lungs where they get oxygenated. So that's the circulation process, okay? All right, so you got a little heart anatomy course here. Now, if you go down to the depths of this, what is occurring at the vasculature? Because this is where the foods that you eat have the most profound effects. So right here, you're noticing, right here, see it, right here, here's the artery, right, which is bringing in oxygenated blood denoted by red. So that's bringing in the arteries into your arterioles, right? And blood flows from the heart and it, gives oxygen to your body. And these small vessels where all this is occurring is known as the capillaries. And then the capillaries are sending oxygen and then they're collecting the waste CO2, which gets sent up to your veins, the venules, which are the larger pieces of your smaller pieces or your veins, into the veins, and that gets sent up to your lungs to get oxygenated. So you have arteries right here, the veins here, and then you have the capillaries, which is the small blood vessels that deliver the nutrients and take out the CO2. And just to give you an idea, the red here denotes the arteries. They're composed of three structures, so are the veins. The adventia, which is the outer layer, okay? Notice in the veins are pretty thin, but in the veins, they're a little bit thicker, okay? The adventia is typically thicker right there. It's thinner in the arteries. And the tunica media is a middle layer. Notice in the arteries, they're pretty large, very thick tunica medias, but they're thinner in the veins. And then the inside of the veins and the arteries are composed of the tunic intima, which is the inner layer. And this consists of endothelial cells. So just like if you went into your bathroom or your kitchen and you have tiles, the inside of the arteries and the inside of the veins and the inside of the capillaries are composed of endothelial cells. And you'll see this is very important to understand the physics or the biophysics here, okay? So endothelial cells, so the capillaries are the fine vasculature, and they're only composed of endothelial, but the arteries, they're composed on the inside part, and the veins, that's what the tunic intima is composed of. Okay, so why is this important? I want to share with you now some very important research that I did when I was at MIT in conjunction with Harvard Medical School and King's College and Brigham. What we looked at was, if you look at the endothelial cells, so if you take your capillaries and you look at the surface of that, think about if you flatten it out like your bathroom tiles, each of those tiles are composed of what are called endothelial cells, okay? And the endothelial cells are an important structure because that is where a lot of this activity takes place, okay? So this was work that I'm going to share with you where we looked at the cardiovascular system and the role of nitric oxide. So what is nitric oxide? It's a very, very important molecule. It's a vasodilator, okay? Dilates the vasculature. It's a key role in maintaining blood pressure. It's anti-arthrogenic, anti-arthrosclerosis, right? It's generated, and nitric oxide, this very, very important molecule. By the way, this was the basis of the discovery of Viagra, right? So you release nitric oxide and you flush blood because you're dilating the tissue. But nitric oxide is generated by enos, which is a enzyme which catalysis leads to L-arginine, okay? So when nitric oxide is generated by the catalysis of L-arginine, so L-arginine is a nutrient, it's an amino acid that you can get from meat, you can get from various different sources, but when you have L-arginine, enos helps convert that to nitric oxide, okay? What's also important to understand from a natural way, if you exercise and you run, that exercise actually releases nitric oxide, okay? That's called blood shear stress, okay? So when you run, as you're going to see here, this arrows represents the flow of blood. Again, this is your capillary, and those are those little tiles. Every one of those hexagonal tiles relates to a endothelial cell. So when you run, blood is flowing, and that flow of blood, we're going to see very soon how this works, that flow of blood in the presence of enos, so you have to have enos, supports L-arginine being converted to nitric oxide as well as L-citrulline, okay? So as you say here, blood flow over the endothelial causes NO production, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS. Endothelial converts L-arginine to NO and L-citrulline. And the NO production leads to vasodilation and it maintains your blood pressure. So you better get definitely enough L-arginine in your diet to support all this, okay? So this was the research I was talking about. So at MIT, one of our PhD students at the time, Andrew Koo, was literally, he could send blood flow in vitro, which means in a test tube-like situation, blood through the arteries, and he could measure vasodilation, and he could measure nitric oxide release. Now, the interest here was, how's all this happening? So if you go to the cell, so this is one of those tiles on the surface of your capillaries, quote unquote tiles, the endothelial. And what you see here is there's a little Christmas tree structure here called the glycocalyx. So when blood flows over that, this starts shaking, like imagine a wind coming, and this structure starts shaking. The mechanical force of that shaking forces, it's very amazing, it's called a mechanotransducer. Mechanical force converts to chemical functions. So this moves and it starts a whole series of chemical reaction that results in the conversion of L-arginine to nitric oxide by the enzyme enos. So if you go look at the papers, as we talked about, this is where cytosol is very powerful, you'll find all these little chemical reactions that are in tens of thousands of papers. So what we were able to do with cytosol was look at all those chemical reactions, bring them together in cytosol. This is what the power of cytosol is, again, without killing animals, mathematically model all of these chemical reactions and literally predict how much eNOS, mRNA, which means the formation of this enzyme, would be created. So this black line is produced by the computer, by cytosol's calculation. No animals were killed in the production of this black line. Right, John? But then we were able to test it with Andrew Kuh's work, where at Harvard and Brigham, these are the actual wet lab results from the laboratory results, okay, in the wet lab. So this shows that cytosol is predicting what they were seeing in the laboratory. And same here with how much eNOS protein, same thing here. So this is quite extraordinary. It was so extraordinary that this work was, I was one of the authors of this, was accepted into one of the leading journals in the world called Cell's Biophysical Journal, okay? So this is important because this was the first time we were able to show that cytosol results matched what people were seeing in the wet lab, okay? So this is important because this shows the power of cytosol, that we can save time and money and, frankly, animals' lives, okay? So using this approach, we looked at the effect of spinach on cardiovascular health. So spinach is shown to have anti-hypertensive effect, anti-diabetic, and anti-atherosclerotic effect. So let's look at the anti-hypertensive effect. So hypertension is when your muscles are not relaxed, okay? Your everything is, think about as tension, hypertensive, right? If you have a lot of stress in your life, you're going to increase the chance of hypertension. It's not a good thing. Well, what does nitric oxide do? So if you think about when you eat spinach, it's got nitrates in it. Nitrate is converted to nitrites. That's why you have to put food in your mouth. So when the food goes through your mouth, it gets converted to nitrite, okay? And this nitrite decomposes to nitric oxide, okay? And when you have nitric oxide right here, this activates an enzyme called guanylyl cyclase, SGC, soluble guanylyl cyclase to be accurate. And SGC, in the presence of nitric oxide, converts GTP to cGMP. And cGMP is extremely important. You want to have that if you want not to be hypertensive, right? cGMP causes relaxation of the smooth muscle cells. And that vasorelaxation promotes anti-hypertensive effect. So again, nitrate in spinach, when you chew it, goes through your mouth, right? Very important. Food is, again, medicine, because if you're just popping that pill, you're not going to have this effect, okay? But the nitrite decomposes to NO, and NO is critical in converting GTP into sGMP, which allows for vasorelaxation. So that's the hypertensive effect of spinach. The other effect is the betanin from spinach, okay, as we talked about, also supports anti-diabetic effect along with the apigenin. So the apigenin, the bioflavonoid, and the betanin has sort of a left and right hook effect. So the betanin and the apigenin support the creation of NRF2, okay? And NRF2, you can do your own research on it. It's extremely important because NRF2 leads to the formation of two enzymes, superoxide dismutase and catalase, okay? And both of these are extremely important because they help neutralize oxidative stress in your body. Well, the chemicals in this case that they help neutralize are superoxide, which superoxide dismutase knocks out, as well as hydrogen peroxide, okay? And these two things are involved in endothelial dysfunction, which means your endothelial cells, I can't overemphasize, if you want to have good heart health, you want to have good endothelial function. But these two oxidizing agents, superoxide and hydrogen peroxide, are not that good for endothelial function, and they will lead to endothelial dysfunction, okay? And what spinach, or the ingredients in spinach do, they actually lead, and endothelial dysfunction leads to diabetes. So what's happening is upstream here, the apigenin, also notice a betanin from spinach not only goes through the NRF2 pathway, but also goes right to knocking out superoxide. So knocking out of the superoxide, knocking out of the hydrogen peroxide prevents endothelial dysfunction, preventing diabetes. Okay, there you go. The next thing is anti-atherosclerotic effect, which is hardening of the arteries. Here, the betanin from the spinach and the carotenoids in the spinach, what they do is they stop the function of superoxide. Again, when you have endothelial dysfunction, your body produces more of the superoxide, which you don't want. And the carotenoids in the spinach and the betanin block this. So as you can see here, to those of you listening to the podcast, what we see here is endothelial dysfunction leads to superoxide, and the carotenoids in the spinach and the betanin block the superoxide. Therefore, blocking that is extremely important because with superoxide, LDL, which is a low-density lipoprotein, which is a bad cholesterol, gets oxidized to OX LDL, right? Which is the oxidized form of LDL. And this is what causes plaque formation. So again, LDL, which is a bad cholesterol in the presence of superoxide, creates the oxidized version of LDL, and that is what causes plaque formation, okay? So the superoxide, which does this, is knocked out by carotenoids and the betanin, okay? And therefore, this lowers oxidative stress, preventing the formation of LDL and the development of arteriosclerosis due to arterial plaque formation, all right? So that's the pathway. Again, the power of spinach. Now, those of you who want to take the video that we just played, when you take a systems approach, I teach you not only, you get all these lectures, you get about 12 lectures, you get a community of people you can learn with around the globe. You also get to get activated. But in the systems learning approach, we also teach you an engineering systems approach, integrating Eastern and Western medicine. And in that system of medicine, I'm going to share with you, you can look at things from a molecular systems approach, but you can also look at it from a engineering or an Eastern systems approach. And in this approach, what you'll see here, and by the way, there's a tool I've created. All of you can take advantage of it. Your body, your system. You can go to truthfreedomhealth.com. If you sign up as a supporter, you get books, you get this tool. But it's a very powerful tool where it'll help you map your body. And the red dot here, you answer a set of questions. It'll figure out what kind of system you are. These are the forces of transport, movement in your body, the force of conversion in your body, the force of storage. And your body, your system will help you figure out where your red dot is. Everyone is different. Everyone's a unique system. And the red dot will move. And then using the tool, you can figure out where your body is at today. That's a black dot, which means if you're not getting enough sleep, the black dot ideally should be on top of the red dot. But no one's perfect, right? So how do you get the black dot to the red dot? And the tool would teach you that foods can affect transport, movement. They can affect conversion, things like digestion or storage. And you can learn how to bring the black dot to the red dot. In fact, this tool will help you figure out the different kinds of foods and how they affect your body to head in this right direction. Now, using this, by the way, you also get access to the book System and Revolution. You get access to a whole bunch of tools. And those of you who contribute 25 or more get access to this. Those of you who contribute 100 or more get access to the entire whole framework. It's a great investment. I hope you do it. But using that approach, we can look at spinach. What you notice is spinach actually increases transport, the motility functions in your body. It stabilizes digestive function. It stabilizes kapha, which is storage, or the storage function, which means it helps, obviously help the storage of fat, for example, okay? So that's the Eastern approach. How much should you take? Well, this is all based on the recent research. Turrell et al. In 2020 said spinach extracts for coronary heart disease. You can find spinach extracts in about 100 milligrams per kilogram, okay? Betanin supplement, which you can get, which is good for glucose control. People who are, let's say, diabetics, again, 100 milligrams per kilogram extract, and that's in Hahn et al. 2015. Now, the spinach juice for hypertension, 250 milliliters per day. Again, this is not a medical show, but it's giving you what's in the research and what Cytosolve is reflecting. You should obviously talk to your doctor before this because remember, the raw spinach has more oxalates in it, okay? So in summary, spinach has several benefits to cardiovascular health. The nitrate in the spinach, remember, it releases a vasodilator nitric oxide, which lowers hypertension. That's number one. Number two, spinach promotes upregulation of antioxidant enzymes that mitigate diabetes via the downregulation of endothelial dysfunction caused by oxidative stress. Remember, what oxidative stress, to be clear, is if you're under a lot of tension or you're under pollution, when you stress your body creates oxidize. It gets, that's where aging comes from, where it starts rusting. Okay. And what we're showing here is that spinach here promotes the upregulation in your own body of antioxidant enzymes. Okay. And then third item important here is spinach compounds prevent arteriosclerosis by downregulating those oxidative stress molecules that cause plaque formation and hardening of the arteries. All right. So there you go. So today we've covered spinach and cardiovascular health. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me see if there's any questions. John, are there any questions we have? Let's take some questions from
Patrick Theus.
Oh, Patrick Theus says, thank you for this info. And yesterday's history lesson was superb. Thank you so much for all you're doing. Sending you thoughts of blessing. Thanks, Patrick Theus. Yeah, so I think the important point that you want to take away from Patrick saying yesterday, we covered a book and we took a systems approach to understanding how the British actually were the bad toxic molecule, if you want to think about it, to really upregulating World War II. Look, the systems approach, you can look at it in anything. You can look at it at the molecular level. You can look at it at the global level. It's about understanding the interconnections. Yesterday, we looked at the quote unquote molecular system of World War I. We looked at the players in that. It was the US American bankers. It was the British Crown. It was Russia. It was France. How all of these people wanted, particularly the British Crown, hated that Germany was rising up, and they wanted to singularly destroy Germany. And they wanted to do that by starting a war. And we talked about how they manipulated this, how they brought in all these forces to decimate Germany. Okay. Well, what we've just talked about today is the same approach, a systems approach. When you take a systems approach, we looked at different molecules here and the interconnections of those molecules at the molecular systems level, how they can upregulate things. So the systems approach is extremely powerful. That's why I want all of you really for yourself to recognize when we take a systems approach, we move beyond left and right. We move beyond pro and anti. We move beyond a fake solution, a fake problem. We find out what the real solution is to the real problem. And my intention here is I can teach these lectures, but my goal is for all of you to start getting the framework, okay? So go to truthfreedomhealth.com, become a warrior scholar. And we have, tens of thousands of people all over the world who are learning this. And our goal is to build a bottoms-up movement so all of you can become leaders in your community and you can take this very powerful systems approach. What's the next question, John?
We have a lot of people asking about the oxalates in spinach.
Yeah. So look, what's fascinating about, everything, remember, everything, food is medicine and medicine is food. I had a friend of mine who was juicing tons of kale every day, right? You got to understand everything, you have to do it at balance. And he started having goiterogenic problems in his thyroid, okay? Because the cruciferous vegetables are good for you, like the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, the kale. But if you take too much of them and you have a tendency to be hypothyroid, okay, or thyroid issues, you're going to affect your thyroid. So anyway, he goes into the doctor. In fact, they actually end up removing his thyroid, okay? And I told him, I said, Alan, you got to watch how much juicing you're doing of kale. And he said, oh, it's very healthy. Well, he had a family history of thyroid issues. He was juicing tons and tons of kale all the time, and it had an effect on his thyroid. Now, look, green vegetables are obviously very good for you, however, in the right proportions, okay? So that's why the Indian system of medicine, which we teach you in Your Body, Your System, recognized everyone's body type is different, okay? John, maybe you can just bring up Your Body, Your System in a window. Maybe you can share that. Can you do that? or can I do that? I think I can do that. So for centuries, let me bring this up, your body, your system.com. So tomorrow, I believe, we'll be doing a whole seminar on this. If you're interested, please let me know. But let me show you this. So your your system helps you figure out what are the right vegetables for you. Okay, what are the right nutrients for you? Okay, not every vegetable is right for the right person. So if you go to your body, your system, which all of you get if you sign up as a warrior or a supporter, you get this tool and you get a whole bunch of other tools with it too. You get a lot of gifts, but this will let you figure out what is your body, and they'll let you figure out how different foods either affect your body positively or negatively. Okay, that's why it's the right medicine for the right person at the right time. So when it comes to oxalates, if you have a proclivity for forming kidney stones in the Indian system, that would say you're affecting your water, your adrenal system, and you're creating, you have the ability to form structures, right? Crystalline structures. If your body has that ability, you should be careful how many of foods that you eat are high in oxalates. Doesn't mean you don't eat spinach at all, but be careful of the dosaging. This is why traditional medicines of systems, and what we're discovering in Cytosolve, it's all about the amount. You eat too much of something, it's going to have the negative effect of what it was intended for. Okay, so that's what's really important here. Food is medicine, and medicine is food. So be careful with, the green vegetables are very powerful, but recognize that when you concentrate these things, that you could also have profound effects. Now, for me, my body, if I eat too much spinach, some of us have a proclivity. There's an important compound in spinach called solanine, and for some people at a certain level, it'll cause inflammation. So I tend to eat a little bit of spinach, and I'm aware of this. There are other foods that are very good for me, like the bromelain and the papain, the papaya. So just understand fruits and vegetables and the things in nature are also medicines, and not everything is right for the right person. Okay, it's for the right person at the right time. Your body, your system teaches you that. Okay, Cytosolve is discovering that from a different way. What's the next one, John?
They all seem to be about the same thing.
Yeah.
So what if your potassium is high and you have kidney issues? There's looking for to get it,
Yeah.
possible to abuse anything.
Yep. So I think a number of people are asking, look, you should recognize your body is a system. You input something to your body is going to have a certain functional output. Okay. But you need to understand that your body is different than a friend's body. And also what you're doing. If you are a body of a certain type and you're not exercising and someone's exercising, it's very different. That's why, these yogis who sit under a tree all day and they don't have any job, they don't have tension, they don't have a family, they don't have to take anything. Yeah, they can probably live on a blade of grass. Great. But if you're out there living in the real world and you have to function and you're lifting weights and you're lifting heavy things, you're going to need a very different protein intake than someone else. So it's not one size fits all medicine. That's what the jabination goal is, right? The jabs are all about everyone should get the jabs, one size fits all. And same in the health and wellness world, people are doing the same thing. Even a yoga posture, okay? Certain yoga postures should not be done by certain people if they have hypertension. In fact, in the traditional systems of yoga, in fact, in our tool, Your Body, Your System, based on where you fall, it won't recommend certain yoga postures to you. So in the yogi guru system, a guru would look at you and they would figure out, oh, for XYZ person, these are the yoga postures that are beneficial. And they would warn you, don't do these yoga postures. Okay. So it's the right medicine for the right person at the right time. That is a systems approach. Next, John.
Yeah. Joanne is saying that spinach, in her experience, increases her histamine levels and makes her dizzy.
Yeah. So Joanne, so as Johanna is saying, yeah, so each person is different. Okay. One size does not. Yeah. Misty says customized treatment plan. That's why when you take this systems approach, you find out some people are very fast moving people. We call those people who can move information, matter, and energy, transport, no different than a Ferrari. Other people are good. They have amazing digestions. No matter what they eat, they stay lean, no different than a car, which can really learn how to use fuel efficiently, right? And that's a conversion type, right? And then you have people who have, even if they eat a little bit of food, they store a lot of food, okay? But they have good memories, and that's a storage and structure, okay? In the Indian system, this was called Vata, Pitta, Kapha. In engineering system theory, we call it transport, conversion, storage. Again, or you can apply that same thing to politics, freedom, truth, and health, okay? That's why I don't have time to get into this, but I recommend all of you become truth, freedom, and health warrior scholars, because you'll find out the foundations of systems you can apply to politics, you can apply to your body, you can apply to understanding why spinach is good for you or it's not good for you. Okay? That's it, John. Anything else?
Jamie's asking, what yoga posture should I do if I have high blood pressure? Get the your body, your system, and play around with it.
Jamie, go to use your body, your system, because it'll tell you so one of the best yoga postures for people with high blood pressure is it's called the dead body pose. It's called Shavasana, where you lie down absolutely still, okay, flat. It's a very simple posture, but look up Shavasana, okay? Obviously, Jamie, you should be concerned doing headstands, okay? That's probably not a good thing. And again, you should consult your doctor in any of this, okay? And I have to say that, I have to give that disclaimer because our show is an educational show. We're here to teach you a systems approach. And by the way, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said he is a fool who does not become his own doctor, okay? So our goal is to give you tools so you can start taking a systems approach. By the way, many medical doctors here in our auditorium here, we've trained tens of thousands of healthcare professionals using this approach. And my view is everyone should go through the Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Training Program, whether you're a medical doctor or your mom, your dad, because it'll give you this foundational knowledge that you can't get anywhere else. So anyway, that's it, John.
All right.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you to people on Instagram. Sorry about those problems. We'll try to figure out what Instagram's doing and why that's happening. Thank you. Be well. Go ahead, John. John will do a closing video. Thanks.